Okay, welcome back. Double J weekend review. This weekend happened. It did happen. It occurred. Games were played, goals were scored, and both of our teams lost. So if you were a sicko and enjoy me and Jace being sad, this is going to be your favorite episode of the year. Yeah, because it's the first episode of the year. We're going to be back to normal stuff. Normal service is resumed. We'll get into all these games. Liverpool, Newcastle to kick it off. I am looking at West Ham and Brighton right now. It looks like Brighton's going to get their first clean sheet of the season, let alone the new year. And we'll get into all of the games, winners, losers, Mike Dean Award, Gary O'Neill Award to finish us off. Next episode, we're going to have our Premier League halfway point awards. Everyone loves that episode. Usually we get a lot of spikes and views when we do that episode. So we're going to have that next episode for the people. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, welcome back. Double J weekend review. Crazy, crazy weekend. Also, apologies before we kick this off. Apologies to West Ham fans and Brighton fans on our preview. I did not predict your game. I definitely would have predicted, as it stands, I would have predicted 0-0. So thank you. I know applause from everyone. Thank you very much. Uh, Jace, there were some great games this weekend. The best out of the lot, or the big game this weekend, Liverpool 4, Newcastle 2, Mohamed Salah.
Yeah, Mo Salah doing everything. He's leading the league in shots on target and big chances created this season, which is just absurd. Yeah, I mean, what like anyone was thinking this guy was just going to go to Saudi Arabia right now, I think it's just crazy. Like he still is one of the best players in the world, easily. Been the best player in the league this season for sure. But yeah, this game it was similar to the United game, except they accepted that we're not just going to be able to pepper shots and expect one to go in. Eventually, we're going to have to play it around, get some passes going and whatever. And they did that. Salah breaks the deadlock right after halftime. And yeah, it just pretty much went up from there. Isak scored a few minutes later on, I believe it was their second shot of the game. And they only ended up with 5 shots compared to Liverpool's 34. It was an onslaught. Newcastle got their 2 goals. It was good. Botman scored a great header off a corner, free header, just went flying in there and headed it home. But this was always Liverpool's game. It was quickly uh, put out of reach with the penalty, which I think we both disagree with, was a clear dive by Jota. I mean, Jamie Carragher even said it. I mean, we all know these guys are all homers, and
Yeah.
to each their own. But like players these days would rather go down there hoping for the penalty than just finishing it into an empty net.
Yeah.
Like he could have gotten it. Like the touch wasn't that heavy. But I mean, again, I don't think it affected the end. Newcastle weren't producing pretty much anything, and I mean, Mo Salah is just the guy.
I completely agree with how Jace kicked that off. The game to me felt like the way United set up, but Liverpool had been through it now, and that kind of blueprint that we talk about, where there's these blueprints of how to beat sides. I talk a lot about it with City. Ole found a blueprint of beating them back a couple seasons ago, just counterattack the hell out of them. Now you can see Liverpool realized what was going to happen coming into this game, and clearly Mo Salah realized what was going to happen coming into this game. He said, "I'm going to be a creator. I'm not." In the United game, I thought he was trying to do too much himself. He didn't realize there were other guys on the field with him, and some of those guys were letting him down, to be fair, but they weren't getting these chances inside of the box that they did against Newcastle this weekend. It was a great setup by Klopp. It was an incredible team selection from Klopp as well. The substitutions, I've got to applaud. McAllister came on and looked immense. So if you're going from that point of view, Newcastle set up the way that the only team that has been able to get anything at Anfield this season set up. Well, excuse me. Apologies.
Yeah, Arsenal got a
Arsenal.
draw as well,
Arsenal got
but
a draw, but
that was different game.
different game and different team. It looks to me that this Newcastle, the players are starting to realize how bad they are away from home. That form, I've been talking about it a lot. I know it's beating a dead horse, whatever. It's that bad. If Sheffield United pick up 3 away points, you have the joint worst away record in the league this season. And this is coming from a guy who sucks. United suck on the road. And Jace talks about homers. I'm a homer. I am biased. Open hand up biased guy. But for as bad as we are, that should be able to let you know I know bad when I see it. And it's just not good enough. It's not to go there and expect we're going to be able to sit deep, counterattack, and that'll work. Is you're hoping and banking on Mo Salah not having a game like this. And when he starts to put those balls in early to the box, that happened for the Gakpo goal. When he starts to link up play with the striker, like the Curtis Jones goal and Jota, when he's the one, there ain't really much stopping Liverpool, specifically at Anfield. It's very difficult to stop that team when they get like that. And to the Liverpool fans who were saying we need to sell Mohamed Salah after the United game, get your head checked. Go see a therapist. Go somewhere, psycho activation or something like that. Because goodness, what were you smoking? It's
I was
insane.
saying people are begging for him not to leave after this season now. It's just, I mean, he has been the best player in the league this season. Holland has the goals, of course, but Salah is doing everything. As I said, leading the league in shots on target and chances created. He's just doing a lot. But on the Newcastle away form, you're right. We have talked about it a ton, but they've dropped all the way to ninth, 1 point above Chelsea. And the home form really hasn't dropped off. It's a major problem for a team that qualified for the Champions League last season. And the drop off is not being talked about enough. I think Chelsea get battered every week. We'll get to their game in a minute, but they won. They still got pretty battered after the game because of the way it ended, and just how scary it was for them against Luton. Newcastle are, again, quietly 1 point ahead of Chelsea in ninth. Like,
Yeah,
and you would just never think that by the way they're being talked about. I mean, it's a massive problem Eddie Howe has to figure out. And we talked about this last week. The injury excuse isn't there anymore. Like, you have your preferred back four. Trippier may have been suspended for this game, or I think he had a little knock or something, but he's not. This isn't, Botman being out for 4 months or whatever it was last time. And it's just straight up not good enough. Like, they're just not competing. And again, no one is going to go to Anfield and just dominate. No one's asking for that. But they were very fortunate. Darwin missed a couple of those chances in the first half. I believe at least one of them was set up by Mo Salah, of course.
yeah,
And, they get it level and then they just start leaking. The Gakpo and Jones goals were both so easy. And yeah, it's just the away form is a serious problem that Eddie Howe has to get figured out, or I think they're going to sack him
I do
if
too.
he doesn't. They have to be ambitious. We know Saudis are ambitious in every single sporting project they invest in, and again, I think if they get a sniff of a big name willing to come, take a big paycheck and come, he's going to get sacked because this is just not what they expect. They probably did overachieve last season. Part of that would be Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea having really down years. West Ham, who we see back up in the top half now, having a down year. But man, it should not be this bad with who they have in their team um, and with who they
Yeah,
have leading their line and in the back. So
I
I
mean
think
that
they've got some problems to work out. They're in the same boat as Arsenal and plenty of other teams with the FFP thing in January. I don't know how much they can do, but and I don't even exactly know where to pinpoint what they need right now. I think
that's the problem.
it's
Yeah,
almost just a mentality on the road. The system isn't working, and it's not all Pope's not playing. Dubrovka's not a world beater, but he's fine. Like, and these goals weren't his fault. So I don't know. It's just they have a lot of work to do. Liverpool continue to look better and better each week. I think they could take it to another level if they played Indo, McAllister, and Szoboszlai all together. It seems he's pretty insistent on playing Indo or McAllister. We've seen Alexis McAllister play very well higher up the pitch. I'm not saying you have to play him as a number 10, but play him as that left eight with Indo, I think could do wonders because I think part of why Trent has been so good, besides Kanate, is Indo's presence in the midfield. He's getting comfortable. Um, and he's starting to look like the player that everyone was saying, oh, this is going to be an underrated signing.
And with the ball, I want to highlight what you just said. With the when Liverpool have the ball, watch where Trent plays with the comfortability now he has with not only Kanate but Indo. It's a pivot almost. It looks like it at least. He likes to tuck inside, and it's not like this full inverted right back. I'm gonna call it the Trent roll because no, I don't know many other right backs in the world that could do what he does and do what he's doing right now. I've always been a big proponent of him. I've always been high on him. And if I'm high on a Liverpool player, you better know he's freaking good. And the hate he got last year, I think, was more down to their injury problems and their aging squad that they had to move on. You look at this team now, I don't know. And I do like the idea. Have always said McAllister shouldn't be a six. Um, I've been loving what I've been seeing from Curtis Jones this year. And every time he plays, I know a lot of people think he's a little bit average or not good enough or whatever. I've never thought that. I've always thought Liverpool have an extreme youth talent on their hands coming through their academy who is competent in a natural number eight. And Zoboslai in these big games, he's good, but let him get adjusted. Now that you've understood, hey, whoa, looking into the season, we didn't have midfield depth. Now you look at your team, you're like, wait, we do? We do have midfield depth. Indo's going to play like this. We have midfield depth. Curtis Jones is going to play like this. We have depth. And if Trent can be that guy offensively, like I was talking about, the midfield's fine. Give Zoboslai some time to get adjusted to the league. Coming from the Bundesliga is never easy. And I think you're going to see maybe a potential of Indo, Curtis Jones, and Alexis McAllister in games like City, in games like Arsenal. Past that point, I don't know. Tottenham. Because that feels a lot more balanced than Indo, Zoboslai, McAllister to me. I think we've seen a couple teams this year, and we're going to highlight it later, who have gone to this lone pivot, lone number six, lone defensive midfielder with two really attacking minds ahead of them, and it gets teams caught out. Us too. Arsenal and United, they're both struggling with it, I think, this season. And it's the main issue you can point to as to what's going wrong in this current period of time. And Liverpool have a chance to have a very balanced midfield. I think he's figured it out. I think Klopp's figured this team out. And with a manager at that high level, for him to figure out a side, I'm getting a little worried. I am. They look like they could fight City till the end. Now, the crappy thing is Salah's about to go to AFCON.
Yeah, I believe this was his last game.
Yes, it was.
He's off to AFCON. But yeah, I guess I'll briefly mention that while we're talking about it. A lot of teams are losing players because the Asian Cup is going on at the same time. That means no Pong for Wolves, no Son for Spurs, no Tomiyasu for Arsenal. We saw it today with West Ham. The attack didn't look nearly as threatening without Kudus, who's already off to AFCON. So it's going to hurt a lot of teams over the next month or so.
And I want to say something too. I don't know if Jace agrees with this. I don't care that AFCON's in January. I get that it hurts club sides. I get whatever. But playing for your country is one of the highest honors you can have in this sport. They have to have it in this time of the year. Let them have it in this time of the year and whatever. You know when you're signing an African player who is a national team product or an Asian player who is a national team mainstay that this is going to happen. You know it is. So I have no problem with AFCON being what it is. I actually really do enjoy watching AFCON a lot because some of those games are crazy. Asian Cup the same way can get crazy. And listen, I'm United are losing their keeper, like Jay said. A lot of teams losing guys, but I do think there is a tier structure to this, and playing for your country and getting called up to your country is just such a big one.
Yeah, Tomiyasu was complaining. He was like, I don't know why we don't play in the summer. And I get that for the Asian Cup.
Yeah.
It makes no sense that it's not in the summer. Like, what are we doing?
Mhm.
But for AFCON, I mean, it makes sense. It's too hot, even though sub-Saharan Africa is mostly all in summer right now because Southern Hemisphere. But yeah, I mean, you can't play it. This year's in Ivory Coast, but a lot of them are in North Africa. Can't play in North Africa in the summer. It's too hot.
Yeah, it's not
And
feasible.
yeah, it's just not possible. So yeah, I agree with you. I have no problem with it. Players are going to go. Anyone who complains about that, well, sucks.
You signed the
Sorry.
player. Like you knew you knew this was a possibility when you signed him. That's my whole thing is it's like why are you blaming the country or the player or something like that? You, just go look at your club and how they planned for, a couple weeks without him. I don't think it's crazy. I think Liverpool are fine. I don't think it's going to be incredible without Mohamed Salah, but I think you have equal replacements. I think Harvey Elliott's going to go out on the right wing and be completely good for Liverpool. I don't think that's a crazy idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious he's the biggest blow. Probably him and Onana because Onana's a keeper.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
put Kudus in that territory now just because,
yeah,
good Lord.
I mean, we literally watched it today. Their counter did not look nearly. Yes, they had some chances. Steele played well, but we'll talk about that later. But I agree, Kudus West Ham is not the same.
Okay, we'll move on from this game. Two wins in December for Newcastle. One of those being the Fulham red card where Raul threw his ass into the guy, and they were able to beat 10 men. The other one, Chase? Hmm?
No, who'd
Da-na-na-na-na.
they beat?
United.
Should have known that.
Okay, Liverpool win 4-2. They retain top place in the Premier League, 3 points clear of Aston Villa, 5 points clear of Manchester City and Arsenal. Let's get into Arsenal, Jace. Fulham 2, Arsenal 1, an early lead from a Bukayo Saka goal, and then what the hell did I watch?
Nothing. That's what it was. It was nothing. The West Ham game was pathetic in the boxes. Between the boxes, it was pretty much pure dominance. You know, it was one if you lose, whatever, it sucks. It's just one loss, you move on. Come into this game completely flat. Score early off a little bit of a deflection, and Saka fortunate taps it in. But after that, I mean, just terrible. Everyone, not even gonna try and single out a bunch of guys today. Everyone was bad. And I think it's a system problem as much as it is a personnel problem. The attack has been disgusting all season, and not in a good way. The defense has been covering for it, completely covering for it. Um, a lot of clean sheets, especially away from home in the first 3, 4 months of the season, covering for the lack of ruthlessness in attack. And it was no different with Etienne instead of Jesus. Same exact thing. Um, and it's exactly what I was talking about after the West Ham game. The left side is broken, completely broken. There's no one there to help. Martinelli is good in one-on-one situations. He doesn't get in them anymore because he gets the ball too early, and two guys get out there to stop him. And it's just completely broken the left side. I think I might have been wrong about Kibior. He wasn't good either, but not that anyone was good. Zinchenko had a slight knock or something, which is a big problem if he's going to be out while Tomiyasu's at Asian Cup, because there's literally no one else right now with Timber obviously out. But yeah, I think there's a solution to this. Mikel's going to have to do some soul searching and rework the system. But I think the easiest thing to do, move Havertz to striker because the other two just aren't performing at all. At some point, you have to do it. Um, I mean, Eddie had a hat trick. Outside of that, Havertz is outscoring both of them in the league from a midfield position. Move Odegaard to the left center mid role to help Martinelli get the ball later so he's not double teamed and so he can get running, cutting inside before it's too late. And then I'd bring in Smith Rowe and start him at the right center mid. He's not getting his fair shake right now. It's ridiculous. Trossard is playing every game, whether it's starting or off the bench, despite contributing absolutely nothing since the Chelsea game. And yeah, I think that's my solution. I think Smith Rowe needs to come in. We've seen it work before under Mikel. When Smith Rowe comes in, he can change the game. He changed the whole season, getting 10 goals in the second half of the season. 3 years ago, I guess it was now 2 years ago. But yeah, I think Nketiah and Jesus, neither are offering anything. The midfield's all out of whack, and the defense is slightly out of form, which shouldn't be a big deal. Should not be that big of a deal. Form goes up and down throughout the season. It's not a problem. But with the way the attack is just faltering and has been faltering all season, we're just not going to win this game 3-2. Whereas City and Liverpool, you're going to watch them win this game 3-2, 4-2, exactly what we watched Liverpool do against Newcastle. And yes, Liverpool dominated that game. Arsenal by no means dominated this game. Stats are pretty much even in terms of goals or in terms of shots and shots on target. but this shouldn't be a problem. Winning this game 3-2 should not be a problem, even if with the defense messing up. And another set piece goal by Day Cordova Reed, balls just pinballing around in the box. But yeah, there's the system's broken, and I don't know exactly what it is, but that would be my suggestion. Be move Havertz up, Odegaard left, Smith Rowe comes in on the right, because Saka doesn't need all that help that Martinelli needs. They're just different wingers. And giving Odegaard or putting Odegaard on the left, taking up space, drawing in defenders, and playing balls late into Martinelli, I think will help a lot.
I agree. I've just got some things. Okay. I've got some things. This isn't going to be nice. I get it. Arsenal's attack has become predictable this season, incredibly predictable. The Odegaard Saka relationship has become so predictable for defenders that they know what is going to happen. They know when to double up. They know when to not mark someone because they know the ball isn't going there. So I agree. You got to shake something up. The wingers have looked so ineffective. I've been talking about it. They've looked so much more ineffective than they did last year. Um, Saka is getting doubled up every time. Martinelli's getting doubled up every time. And that is because of the system. It is. And the second point I want to make, guys in this side right now are not getting held accountable like Liverpool and City hold guys accountable when performances drop off. And is that a depth problem? Maybe. Yeah, maybe it is. I also think that if Martinelli was playing, and just for an example, there's plenty of guys I could go to right now. If Martinelli was playing the way he was and was in the form he was at Manchester City, would he be playing consistently week in, week out? Probably not. They would be trying to behind the scenes figure out what's going on. He wouldn't be starting every single game, and they'd be looking at how the system could suit him better. Right now, I agree with Jace. The left side's broken. And the problem is there's nothing being done to really fix it from an offensive standpoint. We're sticking with the same stuff that is causing us problems, the definition of insanity. And it is a point now where I'm thinking drop Martinelli for a little bit. Dropping a player isn't always like, oh, we killed him. They're killing Martinelli because of bad performance. No, it's just he isn't there in form. We have guys that can play in that position. Let's see if that works a little bit better. I've always thought of Smith Rowe as a left winger to me. I get Jace and Arteta see him as more of an 8, as more of a midfielder, and even maybe a 10. But he is a guy that can play off the left, and we're not seeing him. We're not seeing him at all. And that's where I have a big question mark as far as Arteta growing. I think this is a growth in a manager thing too. And there are easy ways of fixing this. It's not like United where it's you got to do a lot of stuff. The next window is going to be key. I've already said that to Jace. There are places that they have to improve on. Not replacing Xhaka has hurt the rest of this side. Not properly replacing Xhaka has hurt the rest of this side, specifically the attack. It's why Martinelli's looking like the way he is. It's why Odegaard and Saka have become predictable. It can be root cause right there, I think. And until you get a proper number 8, we talked about this just a second ago with Liverpool. Until a proper number 8 is put into that system, I don't know. And I think if Thomas was fit, this is a different side. I think if Party is fit, it's Party, Rice, Odegaard's your midfield. And it's so much more balanced and everything is a lot better. And the pressure on breaking the lines isn't always down to Declan Rice. The pressure isn't always down to Odegaard finding that pass. The pressure isn't on the strikers finishing those chances. It's fully free flowing amongst the whole attack. It looks robotic at times right now, where we're going through the movements, we're going through the motions that we know got us success last year, and they're not getting us success this year. It's a different type of system, but the attacking movement is the same, and it's hindering everyone. So I do think injuries play a part of this. I do think depth plays a part of this. But again, the window last summer, while it was great, you had to go get Rice. Declan Rice is available and he wants to come to your club. You go and pay the money for Declan Rice. He has been very good. I'm seeing this crap online after Arsenal's loss saying, oh, look at Declan Rice playing sideways passes. Look at Declan Rice. Da, 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 da. We're looking at Declan Rice right now out of everybody. out of everyone, we're going to come on. We know if you watch these games, you know that if he has a partner there, or if it's not two very much attacking midfielders, it's a completely different side. It is. I think having Havertz and Odegaard in that midfield role has always been weird to me. It's always been like a different language. And I talk about not being able to understand Pep a lot because I don't, it takes a minute for that stuff to compute. Um, I haven't understood this yet from Arteta. And I think he's growing as a manager. And I think he's starting to realize, okay, this squad that we had last year that got us success with what we want to do has maybe reached its max capacity and we need to go get more. And I think he understood that with selling Xhaka. I don't there is no disagreement with selling Xhaka after last year. I think it's a smart financial move. It's a good move to move
He
on an older
forced that
player.
too. Jaka was ready to go.
Xhaka was
Like,
ready to go. You don't want to keep a guy that doesn't want to be there, but you have to replace him. You have to replace him and upgrade. And I get that you probably wanted Party and Rice could be in that Xhaka role. It's not happening right now, and it's tough to see because I do think the fixes aren't crazy for Arsenal. It's not like you have to go do an overhaul of the team, but there are fixes needed, and they're starting to show their face.
yeah, and none of this is Havertz's fault. As we talk about that left center mid role, he's being asked to play there. It's not his fault that he is a completely different player than Granit Xhaka. I mean,
Completely agree.
Havertz would for Arsenal, Havertz has played striker and left center mid. For Arsenal, Xhaka would play left center mid and left back. Like completely different players, different profiles, whatever. And I don't think Havertz is the problem or anything, but I do that left center mid, it's just out of whack. There's not the Zinchenko Xhaka dynamic last season was fantastic. They just understood each other. They understood each other's positions because they both play those positions.
Yes.
That just isn't the thing with Havertz. He's being told to be higher up, and Rice can't play DM and LCM at the same time.
No.
It's just not possible. And I'm fine with him being the lone six. I do agree if Thomas is fit. Thomas is playing most of these games. Um, but yeah, it's someone has to come in at left center mid. I hope Charlie Patino, who's on loan at I think Swansea right now, um, can come back and be that left center mid role. He's got a ton of talent. I just hopefully the timing works out. I feel like a lot of time with academy kids, the timing is everything when they come back into the team. But yeah, there's plenty to work on. It's fixable, but performances like this are just completely unacceptable. Hats off to Fulham. They came to play. They weren't going to be bossed around. I think they could sense early after the goal that all right, this game is there for the taking. I mean the Raul goal, the equalizer, and they did. They took advantage. Arsenal continued to not offer pretty much anything in front of goal. And yeah, we're gonna have to see some sort of shakeup. There are people that are too comfortable. Um, and yeah, I to your point earlier, I wouldn't hate seeing Smith Rowe back in the wing. I just think I know Mikel better than that, and I don't think he's gonna move him back to winger after trying to train him to play eight. But yeah, something is going to have to change. Thankfully, it's the winter break. I would experiment against Liverpool in the FA Cup. What do you have to lose?
The
They
FA
don't have
Cup.
Salah. Like trying some sort of experiment, see what happens. But yeah, not good, and some changes need to happen. But again, good from Fulham, and they fully deserve to win this game without a doubt.
Completely agree. João Palhinha, I'd do some disgusting things to see him in a Manchester United jersey. Disgusting. Illegal.
They're going to want so much in January.
So
Anyone
much.
tries.
So much money. I would say to them if what are they talking about with Douglas Luiz? 80 to 100?
Yeah,
Yeah, that. That's what I would respond. That's how I would just take the Aston Villa approach if I were the Fulham Chiefs who are in regards to selling him. All credit to Fulham. I think on the preview I talked about how they're just a completely different team without Raul Jimenez. They're like this dude. I just didn't expect this guy to come back and be just an integral role. But Marco Silva with these types of strikers, like Mitrovic was not the guy before Marco Silva came in. Raul Jimenez was essentially thrown away by Wolves because they were like, he can't do it anymore. He's past it. The injury affected him. Comes into this Marco Silva system, just a big old striker, and it's boom. We're gonna work. It's going to work.
Yeah, he is fully back for sure. We both were like, what the hell are they doing? You're not replacing Mitrovic with Raul Jimenez, are you? But they did, and it took a little bit to click, but now it's working. And Mitrovic always scored goals in the championship, but after Marco Silva came in, he shattered the championship goal scoring record with over 40 goals in the season, and then carried that over to the Premier League and helped them finish 10th. So, and if the Saudi thing hadn't started, he would still be playing for them right now and still scoring goals. So yeah, Marco Silva deserves as much credit as always. He is a fantastic manager.
Completely agree. Okay. Anything else? I think we've sufficiently beat up Arsenal there. Yep, that's all that's needed. Arsenal in fourth, 40 points, 1 point clear of Tottenham, level on points with City, and 5 points back of Liverpool, 2 points back of Unai Emery's Aston Villa. Okay, I've dodged it for long enough. Nottingham Forest 2, Manchester United 1. Jace, these guys just, they're a coin flip of whether or not they're going to try on a weekly basis.
Yes, they are. This wasn't a good one by any means, and I think there were some questions to be asked of the manager after this one, similar to what I say with Mikel and Zinchenko. At some point, it's Mikel's fault for continuing to play Zinchenko. At some point, it's Ten Hag's fault for continuing to sub in or start McTominay. Bringing him on from Mino, who was playing fine. There was no reason he should have been yanked at half. And I get after the game, Ten Hag's defending McTominay, whatever. He's not going to throw his players under the bus like that. That's fine. But it changes the game, and you look worse. And the goals, I think, are a direct reflection of that. Gibbs White standing there at the top of the box for the second. Dominguez wide open in the middle of the box for the first one. And it's just the same mental errors from midfield, lacking to mark your players. Like they're just not following the runners. And it just shouldn't be that hard. And I don't want to pile it all on McTominay. There were others who could have been tracking better too. But when you're subbing in for the defensive midfielder and Mino, that's your job. Like that is what you're supposed to be doing. And again, he's too high up, I think. And it's frustrating. Again, of course, there are a couple bright spots. Garnacho again is looking very good. Very, very good. Nice, smart assist for the Rashford goal. Like just nice dink across the box. Knows exactly where Rashford is going to be. Just a smart assist, playing above his age. But it's a shame the elder players around him are not playing nearly to the standard of Manchester United. Like you shouldn't be the 19-year-old shouldn't be your star of your team. And look at where that got Arsenal 2 years ago when 19-year-old Saka was the star.
Exactly.
Sucked.
Yeah, you
Were
did.
terrible
Mm-hmm.
because the
No,
other older players didn't show up. And I think that's happening again here. I don't know. I think Varane and Evans continue to look fine. But besides them, I'm not sure who you can really signal out as senior players that are consistently performing. Bruno, fine. Rashford gets a goal this game, fine. But yeah, Anthony, bad. I don't know, man.
it's a horrible position. I am severe. I'm so sad. I'm just sad at this point because it's the same people week in, week out that are causing us problems. Number 21, number 20, we're no names for a couple guys. They've lost name rights. 21 is the worst piece of money spent in the Premier League ever of all time. I mean, we brought on Amad Diallo 53 minutes in, significantly better. Hasn't played a game in 5 months and is significantly better than 21. How's that possible? Dude, the dude goes out there and it looks like he wants to do more flicks and tricks than he does play the actual game. And it is so frustrating. There was a time where he had a chance to run a defender. He can't use his right foot. So he turns around, loses the ball out of play, doesn't try and drop it back to the right back, doesn't try and recycle it through, nothing. No ideas, no nothing. Just, ooh, maybe I can Cruyff turn. No, you can't. 21 should really not be a Manchester United player. He's not up to the standard of what we said. And I've talked about his transfer a lot. I'm not going to go back into it. It's an error from recruitment to price to every single thing. There were plenty of other options out there. And guess what we're going to be looking for this summer, Chase? Guess what we're going to be looking for this summer for the 15th straight year at Manchester United?
Right winger.
A left-footed right winger. Good Lord. How is that even a thing? How do you fumble this that long? It's incredible. 39 naming rights taken away. I've been talking about it since second week. Cutbacks into the box for midfield runners just not being marked. 39 is a large, if you go and look at them, I saw a video of every single cutback against Manchester United this year. It's 39. It was an injured Casemiro or 39. So he goes up to double on the second goal. Okay, so just give you a preview or a look in of what happened while Dylan was watching this game. We turn it over after Bruno tries to dummy a ball inside the box to absolutely no one. There's no one behind him. Who's he dummying it to? And then we watch a guy run for 50 yards. And I go, stop the ball, stop the ball, stop the ball. Someone put in a challenge. Oh, why am I even asking? Look at Gibbs White. Someone mark Gibbs White. Someone mark Gibbs White. Boom, goal. And it's just, it's infuriating because you can see it coming from a mile away. Either put in a challenge if you're going to double him up or mark the guy who's wide open at the top of the box. Good Lord. I'm not talking about rocket science here. I'm not. And it's on the manager for putting him in there. I've been critical where I think he has problems. I've tried to be. I've also tried to give him a lot of benefit of the doubt because I do not think the root problems as to what is going on at Manchester United are at the manager's feet fully. But this game specifically was his problem in a nutshell right now that he's got to get rid of, which is playing midfielders who are far too attacking. I've always had a problem with playing Eriksen as an 8. Is that down to recruitment? Yes. Does that mean you have to go out there and shoot yourself in the foot week in, week out? No. No. So it's been a problem since last year. There's a chance that we could have fought for something even more last year for like, a 6-day period after we beat City. And the error with Eriksen being our number 8 comes in. I love Christian Eriksen. Since he's come back in, we've looked better going forward. His balls have been better, but he ain't an 8. There was a reason his number 1 target was Frankie de Jong when he came into the club. There was a reason that we wanted 2 midfielders when he came into the club, and we've only gotten 1. And Mason Mount's been out for a while, who, again, I don't know is an 8. I don't know right now. He's been injured for so long, and this isn't blaming Mount. This is blaming, again, the recruitment of this club is absolutely dog shit. It's in the drain. It's in the toilet. And that's why I think when you hear these things of we need to sack this manager, we need to do that, and the message from Ineos is break, break, break. First off, we need to figure out how the hell the buys and sales of this club have been allowed to go forth that have been happening.
Right. Like who's been okaying this stuff? Who has been at the highest level possible has been okaying some of these signings and the money spent for them. Like that's where you have to start with your questions. You bring in whoever you want as manager. If you keep signing, I hate using Anthony always an example, but he's the freshest one. If you keep signing players like Anthony and spending that kind of money on players like Anthony, it doesn't matter who the manager is because
No.
you'll never get out of that loop. You'll never get out of FFP trouble and you'll never get better.
And I mean, Sancho, you can use him too, where we expected Sancho to be a right winger in the Premier League. Can you tell me the last time a right-footed right winger has been exceptional in the Premier League, Jace?
Adama was pretty good for Wolves that season.
Yeah, that 1 year. And
But
then people
like
people figured out he's just going to
that
knock it
was
down the
mostly
byline.
crossing it in with his right foot, though. It's not like he was cutting it in and shooting. And that's a lot of the winger position these days. I mean, not a ton, no. I mean, not
Exactly.
on my head.
So even from that basis right there, that would have been my first question with signing Sancho was I get he's played on the right wing at Dortmund. German teams like to play a very high line, which allows right-footed right wingers to get in behind or be able to play in balls in behind, which is where Sancho looks so good. I think he actually looked his best at Dortmund off the left wing. So again, we go and identify positions from a recruitment basis that we don't need. I think Ten Hag's been okay at identifying the positions that are needed. The problem is the recruitment hasn't been good enough still. So you end up with guys like 21. You end up with guys being relied on like 39. They're not good enough for the club. If you want to win things, they're not good enough. There's not. And there's a reason we were trying to sell 39 in the summer. There's a reason that questions have been around Anthony. It's 21 since last year. One goal in the entire calendar year. One goal in an entire calendar year. And it's not like he's not playing. Not like he's not doing anything. He's playing. Week in, week out, we see him, except when he was dodging claims of beating his girlfriend. So the manager, this does come down to him a little bit at a point where it's like you keep giving the guy a chance. And next week, I swear, if I see 21 on the team sheet in the FA Cup, I might just lose my mind. I might lose my mind. I'm in a bad spot already. This past couple weeks haven't been great. I might lose my mind. It might just be the thing that breaks me because I watched Amad Diallo come out there and be better than I have seen Anthony in the entire calendar year. And one like he set the world alight. He was fine. He was good. But I think it was almost like, oh, that's better than what I had to see. And what I had to see was trash. It's like seeing a McDonald's burger and you think it's a gourmet steak because you've been eating out of the trash can for your whole life, right? That's the equivalent. I like Amad Diallo. He can grow into a gourmet steak, but he's not a gourmet steak right now. He looks like it to me. Good. Yeah. I don't want to harp on United. I do think there is one bright side from what's going on right now. I can see the future of the club. I can see him. Garnacho, Mino, Hoyland. I like to throw Lissandro in there because I think Lissandro has been a great signing and a great player when he's played.
Can't have all teenagers too. I mean,
Right.
you need a guy in his mid 20s.
I do think Rashford is going to pick it up. I just wonder how well that can work with Garnacho. I'd like to see Garnacho on the right wing again. I know I say right-footed wingers can't do it, but if he's going to be able to cut inside and be able to do that and find space in the middle, keep playing him on the right wing. The manager right now is one, the injuries are huge, but he's also throwing a lot of pressure on himself by highlighting those injuries now. And saying, I mean, the performances are going to have to improve when these guys come back. And if they don't, he's in a real spot of bother with not just fans, but with Ineos. Because I guarantee you, Ineos are going to see that and they're going to go, is this really the direction we want to go going forward? I'm still behind him. I still back him. I don't think the root problems are that. I can't wait to see how Ineos and how Sir Jim and how Brailsford get in there and shake up the entire way this club's been run for the last 15 years. Um, so, I mean, it is hilarious. You used to be able to ask, like, who's United's worst signing before Fergie? You'd say, like, Gabriel Obertan or Bebe. Those guys look great these days. It's hilarious. They weren't good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'd kill for Anderson right now. Realize how low that makes me feel? Goodness. Yeah, this team is it's in a spot of bother. But like I said, and I'm gonna throw Ahmad in there too. He's a great talent that has gone on loan a couple times and has been really good when he's gone on loan. He's been really good when he's come and played for United. So I'm gonna throw him in there too. There is this group of players that I can say, hey, going forward, you're gonna be a part of this project, but it's really tough to do that when you're getting smacked around by Nottingham Forest.
And there are too many that you can blatantly see are not part of the project, part of the
Yes.
future. There's more of that than the people that you can clearly see have a long-term future at United. My last thing on this one is shout out Forest. They played really well. They look good under Nuno so far. Gibbs White really good. You still got to finish that chance off. I would expect him to put that chance away the majority of times, but just not just that. He was playing well the entire game. So good for Forest. They're looking better under Nuno. The owner's looking smart right now for making the change. And yeah, they're when Luton keep getting points, they are doing a good job of getting themselves away.
Yeah. And
With luck.
Luton don't pick up three and they pick up all three this weekend. That's 6 point swing. I did. Did you see the Gibbs White clip before the game? Have you seen that video?
I don't think so.
But they were doing like a team talk, all in a huddle before the game. United didn't. And Gibbs White says, "Look at their faces. They don't want to be here." And it literally pans to Erickson, who's like, and just like scowling and doesn't like clearly, literally does not want to be there. It's a sign of what's going on right now. Some of these guys just aren't up to it game in, game out. And I'm not calling out Erickson. It's just that's how the clip went. And I think it was the whole side. They weren't ready to come out there and play against a team that was going to be hungry and was going to be ready to go. So, okay. United are in eighth for the second time in the club's history. And funnily enough, haha, the second time in the last 3 years, United are out of the top six at the new year. 31 points, 9 points off fourth place Arsenal, and 2 points clear of Newcastle, 3 points clear of Chelsea. Bad. Meanwhile, Forrester in 15th, 20 points, 5 points clear of Luton, as we say, big 6 point swing this weekend. Okay. Oh, that was a bad voice crack, wasn't it? That was not great. That was my voice is kind of shot. I was yelling. I was at a wedding this weekend, had a great time. Um, and then was yelling at a TV yesterday as Alabama lost. So bear with me, people. All right, let's get into some of these other games. Chelsea 3, Luton 2. Good Lord, this team are fun. They're quite fun this year because they could be going from 3-0 looking like, damn, this is going to be another good game for Chelsea to holy crap, are they going to blow this?
Yeah, after 70 minutes, Cole Palmer gets his second. You're like, okay, this is over. Chelsea looking good, and then Ross Barkley scores, Adebayo scores, and then they score again. It's offsides, but they were bringing the pressure on. I thought Luton were going to come all the way back. To be honest, this was a great performance up until 70 minutes from Chelsea. Um, Not necessarily in like the sense that they weren't letting anything happen. Petrovic did have to make some saves. Um, but they weren't leaking goals in, and then the floodgates exploded at the end, but they held on and they scored. And I think we've been saying this for months, pretty much since like his third or fourth game. Cole Palmer is very clearly their best player, and he continues to produce the stats, goals, and assists. I think he assisted the Madueke goal too. Um, and yeah, they're clearly a lot better with him playing, and they're scoring more goals with him playing. And that was the huge problem for them at the beginning of the season and all of last season. They couldn't score the damn ball no matter how well the defense played. They just couldn't score. And he's adding some attacking or some teeth to their attack. But Luton really are just fun and they don't quit. Like on a this year, it may be too much to stay up, but on a year where maybe some of the teams at the bottom didn't score as many points, I think they'd have a good chance to stay up. I'm not sure if that's going to happen this year. They do have a game in hand on Everton, who they're only a point behind um, against Bournemouth, I believe. But yeah, hats off to Chelsea. They're stringing some wins together. It's good. Will they consistently do it? I still don't think so this season. I think Europe, maybe they get Conference League. I still think Europe's a little out of reach for them just based off consistency, but they've found a guy that can make things happen for them in Cole Palmer, and that is huge.
I think I talk about this with United, where there are some bright spots going forward. This season for Chelsea isn't going to be easy. It's not going to be the easiest thing you've ever gone through. I think that they have youth that you can say that's going to be my club going forward. Cole Palmer's the number one. Noni Madueke is up there as well for me. I've always thought he should be playing. I had some of those takes about him partying and not playing. I think there was a little bit of a dispute between him and Poch. That happens. They seem to have moved past that. Wish my manager could do that. And now it looks like he's going to start playing consistently. I would go also with Petrovic, who I think when Robert Sanchez comes back, Petrovic should not lose his place. He's big, he's good, he's quick with his reflexes. He's just a good player. So I think there are bright spots, but there's also like we know where we need to improve. You need to go get a striker. You probably need to see a little bit more out of Mudryk before you're fully confident in putting him in the same bracket as Cole Palmer. Um, and I think Levi Colwell is going to come good. I do think Levi Colwell is going to end up being your left-sided center back. You're going to get someone Chilwell. He's either going to turn up or you're going to go get a left back in the summer, and that's how it's going to work. I just think the points of identification of where you need to improve are very clear, and the players that you need to trust in going forward are also very clear.
I mean, when was the last time we were able to say that about Chelsea? For a year and a half now, it's been we don't know who's good and who's bad. Some people play good this week, some people play terrible the next, and so on.
Yeah,
They finally have identified a few people, I think, Madueke, Palmer specifically, Caicedo, Gallagher in midfield. Hopefully Enzo can work his way back in for their sake. But yeah, I think Caldwell will take over for Thiago Silva either at the end of the next this season or the end of next if he stays for another year, which I think will be crazy. Love Thiago Silva. He's still good, but at some point you got to trust Caldwell to take over that position because again, Thiago Silva is a 1 year solution every time. It's
yeah,
always a 1 year extension. You never know when he's going to go off a cliff. But I do think finally they've seen players that are going to work for the future. Malo Gusto, I think, is the future at right back. Reece James can't stay fit. Like, I know he's club captain. I would sell him if his value's high because I really believe in this guy. So they've still got some question marks. Mudrik, players, Nico Jackson, Broja, all these guys, Matson, I could go down the list. They got loan guys too that have questions, but they've found at least two guys in the attack, I personally think, that have a long term future at Chelsea, and that's Palmer and Madueke.
yeah. And I mean, Todd Bowley could go and F this all up. Don't get me, that is still also a possibility. But I think they have the skeleton there of we know what's broken, we know what's not, we know what we need to fix, we know what we don't. And unless you're just an idiot, which again, Todd Bowley jury's out on that. You should be able to see what's needed at Chelsea next summer. I think the next window, similar with Arsenal, similar with United, and similar with um, Chelsea here. All of them are in very similar positions. I think Tottenham the same way too. We'll throw Tottenham in that, where the next window is very crucial. Arsenal are in a step above, I think, the other three that I just mentioned because the fixes are a lot simpler. These are rebuilds are cutthroat, right? You have to be cutthroat in your rebuild. This next window needs to be cutthroat and smart from Chelsea, and I will be officially scared. I will be terrified because if Chelsea, the thing is about Chelsea, when Chelsea get good, they get good. They get good. It is either
They win leagues when they get good.
yes, it is either 0 or 100. Leandro Trossard, if you will.
Yep.
That's Chelsea. Okay. Well done to Chelsea to hold on. Well done to Luton to fight back. Very good game to kick it off. Chelsea currently in 10th, but they're creeping. Creep. Creep. Okay, you had to know that reference. They are just 1 point off Newcastle, as Jace highlighted, 2 points off or 3 points off United, still 12 points off Arsenal in fourth. But again, is Europe really, is Champions League really what you're aiming for this year? Is Europe really what you're aiming for this year? Or are you aiming to start a rebuild? Okay. Meanwhile, Luton are in 18th, 15 points, 1 point off Everton. 1 point off Everton, who've had a tough couple games, but we'll get to them here shortly. Okay. Let's move along. Jay, should we go to Villa? To Birmingham.
Yep.
Tommy. Go kill him, Tommy. Villa 3, Burnley 2. Burnley have that fight about him, too. We talk about Luton having that little bit of fight about him. Burnley have that fight about him. It's good to see with these teams that I think maybe 2 months into the year, we kind of thought, oh gosh, the three teams going up are going to go straight back down and it's not even going to be close. They're showing that there is, I know they didn't get anything out of this game, but they fought against this Villa team.
Yeah. Equalized twice, including after being down a man after Sanderberg got two yellows. And then I think the pen was extremely soft. We've just every little thing is given these days. It's I don't even know. I mean, it's just they give soft penalties now. I mean, it used to be so hard to get a penalty. Now it's, any little bit of contact, they're going to get on the camera. They're going
Unless
to
you're
review
Manchester
it.
United or
Yeah.
Arsenal.
Yeah, apparently so. But then I think they get fortunate. They get a penalty. Douglas Luiz dispatches it easily. Um, Actually, I think it hit the crossbar and bounced in. But
Yeah, it did.
yeah, whatever. They get the 3 points. Great for them. But Burnley have that fight in them. And again, similar to Luton, there may just be too many points at the bottom of the table for them to stay up. But Burnley and Luton have gotten progressively better throughout this season. I think it's obvious. Burnley haven't really had the points show up as much as Luton have. Um, but yeah, they're looking better. But I mean, Villa just, you know, they get the pin, they're at home, they get the win, and they stay second.
Yeah, this is a big Villa at home game where it's just like, as much as they kept getting it to 2-2, you know what Villa are like at Villa Park. It's going to end somehow in Villa's favor. Jace talked about it with City and Arsenal, or City and Liverpool, talking about the Fulham game, where if they get to this point, you always think that they're going to be able to pull a result out of their ass. Villa are kind of turning into a little bit of that team this year. I do want to credit Zeki Amdouni and Law Foster. It looks like companies found something here where maybe it's too late. Maybe I do think the quality of the league compared to last year is at the bottom end. We've talked about this. It's just a lot lower, or not lower, a lot tougher this season to be able to survive. But Villa gonna Villa. Musa Diaby is back from not a bad run of form, but just not the beginning run of form that we had. This was the guy that I remember seeing at the first 3, 4 months of the season. Boom. So what? He has 2, 3 off weeks. If he's going to be consistently scoring goals for you all season, who the hell cares? He's that good. And John McGinn is the most underrated player in the Premier League this year. It's not even close, I don't think. Like, no one's really talking about him. Ross Barkley's getting a little bit of shouts now, I think, but John McGinn might be the most underrated player in the Premier League because everyone likes to talk
I
about
agree.
Louise. They talk about Louise and Kamara. Me too. I do it. Ollie Watkins, Diaby, Bailey. Who else? Diego Carlos this season's been really good for him. They talk about Martinez even
Yeah,
sometimes where they
Emmy, of
talk about,
course. Yeah,
yeah, who got a yellow card again, 98 minutes into this game. So we're gonna get a menace leaderboard at the end of the year. Who are the menace 11? Ooh, I like that. And John McGinn just doesn't get talked about a whole lot. He's been such an integral part of what Unai Emery's trying to do, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree. He probably is the most underrated player um, in the league this season. He's doing a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
No,
Villa are in second, 42 points. I don't know. Why was I just trying to talk while also sipping water? That was crazy. Jeez. Rough couple days, people. Villa are in second, 42 points, 3 points off Liverpool. Meanwhile, sorry, apologies. Forgot to speak. Happens once an episode. You people know it. Burnley are in 19th, 11 points, 5 points off safety. So it may just be too little too late at this point. But again, anything can happen in this league. Hashtag this league. It'd be wild. Okay. Manchester City 2, Sheffield United 0. I haven't said it in a while, Jace. City gonna City. Take your beating and move on.
yeah, this was pretty comfortable. City didn't give them much of anything. They had like 4 shots total. But yeah, you just knew it was coming. Rodri scored a great goal early. Julian Alvarez after the half. And yeah, it was just smooth sailing. Sheffield barely had the ball. Again, barely had any chances. Grealish was, or excuse me, De Bruyne was back on the bench. He didn't get any minutes, which makes me think he's just not quite ready yet because this would be the game. You stuck him in, you're completely dominating, you're 2-0 up, give him 5, 10 minutes or whatever. So that might be until after the FA Cup before he's back. But yeah, they're sitting pretty game in hand, which will take them to 43 points above Villa, 2 behind Liverpool, assuming they beat Brentford. And yeah, they still haven't quite kicked it into the next gear yet. And I think De Bruyne coming back will help that. Holland, I think, is still out for the FA Cup game. Um, this injury's been weird. They're just not giving much information about it,
Yeah,
but
they
they're
just
still saying it's not long term. So he should be back soon. And yeah, they're getting healthy.
yeah. If they're saying mid-January on him, which I'm assuming they're just gonna hold him and De Bruyne until right after the FA Cup, and then just whip them out after the winter break, which is going to be just terrifying. Phil Foden is as good as people say he was. Shocking when everyone in unanimous agrees that he's good, and then people turn on him. That he actually ended up being, he was fine. He was very good the entire time. He just didn't have the greatest of seasons last year, and I still think he was really good last year. So this season, he is clearly Pep's guy. Leave him in that 10 when Holland comes back. I know you're going to get De Bruyne back. I know whatever, but he looks like he's just so good in that role. I think Rodri is good enough. You can go Rodri, De Bruyne, Gundogan. And that's just like throwing your balls on the table,
Wait,
really.
who? Not Gundo. He's gone.
Oh, Rodri, De Bruyne, Foden. Sorry.
Yeah.
Rodri, De Bruyne, Foden. I know that's like
Yeah, no, I
really
think you
open,
can.
but
I think you can too. I think you basically just tell Foden you have free reign on the left side of the pitch. De Bruyne, you have free range on the right side, and let them do their thing. Rodri can control the midfield. Against the majority teams, you can always bring in Kovacic or Nunez for some of the tougher games. But I mean, I think if they have De Bruyne this game and they're playing like you're saying to play, I think they could have scored five with the amount of
yeah,
possession they had.
yeah.
Like,
I'm not talking. Don't do that at Anfield. Don't do that.
right.
Don't do that at
Yeah,
Anfield.
I agree. I think you could easily play all three of those guys together, especially because De Bruyne, as much as he's a 10, he also has the mentality of an 8. He gets back, gets into tackles. You'll have no problem worrying about that. And Foden's scrappy too. So that's how I would play. Sheffield United, I don't have much to say. They weren't expected to get anything out of this. They didn't, and they've got bigger fish to fry there at the bottom.
Yeah, the only thing I just can't out of the three teams that are currently in the relegation zone, one of them just looks severely more dead than the other two.
And it's odd that it's the one that made the managerial change too. Like not odd in the
Yeah.
sense that yeah, they had a manager sacked, but they haven't really gotten better
No.
since then, since Chris Water came back. So
Well, and the thing is, the system hasn't changed. You're still playing this like incredible, like back five, very low blocks against everybody.
yeah,
That's
like
what you
this
were
game's a
doing
horrible
before.
example, but they're
Yes.
not. It's not just City.
No. It's been every game since he's been back has been like, is this really what we're gonna go for? Which is absolutely no change at all. Okay. That's whatever. Sheffield United are in 20th, 9 points. They're 7 points off safety. That's a lot. I know 5 and 7 with Burnley and them isn't all that different, but just the way you've been playing too just makes it even worse. Meanwhile, the Monstars are going. I'm sorry, the Monstars are going to win this league. They're got Manchester City right now looking peak Manchester City position to win this league. Yeah, yep, yep, yep. 40 points, 5 points off Liverpool with a game in hand, and 2 points off Villa, level on points with Arsenal. Okay, let's get through the rest of these games as we have almost finished out the big six. Tottenham 3, Bournemouth 1. The scoreline was deceiving to me here, Jace, because the Bournemouth that I've seen, some of those chances go in the back of the net. They didn't, and Tottenham walk away with a like on paper comfortable victory.
Yeah, it wasn't as comfortable as it looked. I will say a lot of the Bournemouth shots were kind of non-chance shots. Just shooting to shoot. It's a 24-4 goals or shots to shot on goal ratio is not very good. Spurs was 50%. But I thought they looked good. The Sar thing was a bit of a worry. I think he's okay because I'm pretty sure he's still going to AFCON duty. So, but they're going to lose him for this month regardless, most likely. Richarlison is looking like he did when he was at his best at Everton, which if you had told me that in January of last season, I would have laughed in your face.
I would have laughed in your face too.
Yeah. Like we would have both been laughing
Ha ha
hysterically.
ha 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 ha. That's what we would have done.
Uh, but yeah, and Son looks as good as he did when he won the Golden Boot 2 seasons ago. He's in the running for the non-Holland Golden Boot.
I think
Um,
he is. Yeah, you're right.
I bet Salah's probably going to win it. Salah may even win the real Golden Boot. Who knows? But Son is looking really good. The midfield is looking competent, and I think that was a big thing for them. Even with Sarr, Benkenter, Lo Celso, which is by no means their preferred midfield trio, they still did a decent job controlling the game when it mattered most. But yeah, I think they just got to get these wins and move on during this busy period. They're missing guys through injury. Obviously, Sarr is going to AFCON. Son's going to the Asian Cup. So they're going to be down significant portion of their first 11. um, until at least mid to late January. So they've got some stuff to figure out. But yeah, just winning these games and moving on is all they can do, and that's exactly what they did here.
Yeah, I completely agree. They're in a position of we say this a lot, get your 3 points and get out of there. With the injuries they have, with the people missing out, it's so tough to see how this gets going forward. I mean, Romero out until February. Madison is going to be coming back here pretty soon, mid-January, which will be a huge boost to them. Looks like Van de Ven will be able to come back in early January. That's going to be a huge boost. Basuma will be back, and I don't mind Basuma and Bentancur together. I think that's going to work fine. I love what I've seen from Pape Sarr this season. But having depth and able to do something while you're missing players is something I didn't really think I'd see out of Tottenham this year. Looks like we're starting to see it. Again, it is a lesser side when they go up against the big boys. I think it's going to be a lot tougher, but Bournemouth have been so good this year that, or this past couple months, that it's like that's a statement
It's a tricky,
win.
tough game. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. With the way Bournemouth have been playing, they didn't play Sheffield United. It's not some sort of, these guys aren't going to offer anything going forward. And you obviously see, I mean, they get 24 shots. So, I mean, there's a problem to deal with. Spurs dealt with it. They get the 3 points. They move on. Now it's about getting the goals without Son scoring and assisting.
Yep, I agree. I do think some of those Dominic Solanke chances go in the back of the net on a different week. He's been red hot this
Yeah.
year. No anime celebration this weekend though, brother. Boom, boom.
After your complaints.
I feel like such an old head. I feel like it's like my age is showing when I'm like, stop with the damn anime celebrations. Okay. Uh, Tottenham are in fifth, 39 points, just 1 point off their North London rivals in Arsenal. Meanwhile, Bournemouth are in 12th, 25 points. They are in this little bracket of Palace, or well, really Fulham, Bournemouth, and Wolves. We'll throw Chelsea in there too, that are just kind of creeping. They're creeping it. They could do something in the second half of the season. I'm literally thinking Bournemouth could sneak into a Conference League place at the end of the season, which would be just crazy. Um, but for now, they're going to keep on creeping. Well done. Okay, let's get through the rest of these games. Palace 3, Brentford 1. Good Lord. This team without Mbuemo and Tony suck. And
Yeah.
that's not mean. That's not trying to be mean. It's just like, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And they lost, I believe it's Wisa to AFCON, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. Yeah.
Democratic Republic of Congo for Wisa. So he's off. And that just creates all sort of problems. This is a very Brentford game. Keane Lewis Potter, 2 minutes in, scores, and then they just collapse. Pretty spectacularly, honestly. Elise 14 minutes in, Eze 39 minutes, and Elise again in the second half. If Roy Hodgson can get his two main guys going, they are not going to have any problems whatsoever. They're going to get themselves right up to the upper half of the bottom 10 and be completely fine. I think Chris Richards with Lerma and then just letting the four guys in front of them play offense is working so well. Um, but again, it's all on Elise and Eze to do this to the stuff because IU and Mateta had a fine start to the season. IU had a decent goal a couple weeks ago, but neither of them is going to give you anything consistently. It's on Elise and Eze to get the goals, to get the assists, and they're going to be completely fine because this is the performance that they've been having. They just haven't been scoring, or they've made some sort of dumb mistake, and it's costing them a goal and it costs them the points. They didn't do that this game. Well, they did, but it was early, and they had time to make up for it. And this is why Roy's been so frustrated because they've been playing well, they haven't been doing anything with it. Now they get the 3 points and looked good doing it.
At a perfect time to play this Brentford team where it's like we've been doing this. This is a team that we can get the goals against. It's got to be a good feeling for that Palace side. We've said this whole season. It comes down to Eze and Elise for Palace, and also Odson Edwards back on the bench now. So if he can get back in, I really do have liked what I've seen from Mateta. Um, Big, able to hold the ball up, gets the ball into Eze and Elise's feet, and lets them just go to work, which is a great solution of how to win games as a team like Crystal Palace. And Michael Elise is going to go for a disturbing amount of money.
Yeah, especially with the new contract, they can ask whatever they want. But I think this game was even more important too because Brentford have low key been slipping.
Yeah.
Uh, Bottom five now, 15th. So Palace only 2 points ahead of them because of this victory, 2 points ahead of them.
Yeah.
So they needed this big time. It was a battle at the bottom, and I agree with you on your Mateta take. He is helping the two get involved, which if their strikers aren't going to score goals, then the least they can do is be involved in that. So
Yeah.
that's not the worst thing in the world.
Nope. And for Brentford right now, I'm worried. I actually am because if Tony comes back and it takes a little bit of time, I don't think it's going to take time for him. Or if you sell him in January and have to go look for a replacement, and Buemo's going to come back here relatively soon. He's going to miss out on AFCON, but then Visa's gone as well. I don't know, man. They're just not. When you lose all your attackers as a side like Brentford, you're not going to be the same team. That's just a fact. And they're going to have to just fight through this period. Kind of the opposite end of the table as to what Tottenham is doing right now, where they're beat up with main guys beat up, and you just try and get results, try and get results. I just don't know if I see Brentford being able to get results without Emblemo, Wisa, and Tony.
They can't sell Ivan Tony. They cannot.
Physically cannot. I think it would be asking to get relegated.
Yeah, because they're by no means safe. I mean, what are they outside of the relegation zone right now?
4 points
Four
clear of
points.
Luton, and
Yeah,
they're three clear of Everton. They do have a game in hand, but I'm pretty sure their game in hand is City.
it is. It's City.
So I don't know about that one, Chief. It's not like you're expecting to pick up any sort of points
How'd they
there.
beat City last year? A counterattack with Embuemo, Visa, and Tony.
Yeah.
That's how they beat them last year. You're talking about playing them without all three of those guys. Forget City, literally anyone without all three of those guys. For a team that loves to score on the counter, you lose your three best counterattacking threats. It's not looking great for Brentford right now. They're going to have to try and string some points together and get Tony back and get him playing. He has been playing closed door friendlies for about 4 months now, 3 months now,
Mhm.
but that's not the same as playing in a game in front of fans.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think he'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think it's 2 weeks. I think it's after the FA Cup, right?
I believe so. So
Okay.
for their sake, I hope they do not sell him because
Yeah.
they
He's also been training in the second best city in Tennessee, aka Nashville, because we all know the best city in Tennessee is where John Morant lives. Um, okay. Yeah, Brentford are in a spot. 16th, 19 points, 4 points clear, as I say, of the relegation zone. Palace are in 14th on 21 points. Uh, I agree with Jace. If they can keep these guys healthy, they can start to move up into that Wolves, Bournemouth, Fulham area. Okay. Speaking of Wolves, Wolves 3, Everton nil. Is the Everton hot streak? Have they stopped getting pissed off? Was it just a whole we were pissed off about the deduction in points, and now we are where we are?
I wonder if they just got a little bit ahead of themselves when they were going out there and winning 3 out of 4 or whatever it was.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe they got a little bit too confident because this was a destruction from Wolves. Everton don't manage a shot on target. Possession's pretty much even, but useless possession for Everton. Wolves, meanwhile, 6 shots on target. They get 3 goals. Cunha's looking good. And yeah, I still think Everton are going to be fine, but I would be a lot better if they had those 10 points back because now they're only 1 point clear of Luton, who are looking good despite the loss this week. And the honeymoon, I shouldn't even call it a honeymoon because it was after a bad thing that happened to them, but
Yeah.
the instant angry knee-jerk reaction to the points deduction is losing steam. The fans are losing their corrupt steam.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, we saw before this that they weren't great. They were getting better for sure, but they weren't great. And I don't know. I'm a little worried for them now. Same with Brentford, because Luton and Burnley are looking better, and they're both looking a little bit vulnerable.
It's kind of like that breakup motivation. Not honeymoon phase, but when you break up with a girl and you're like, I'm gonna go hit the gym, I'm gonna go, get after it, and then 2 months later you're like, all right, that was nice, but I'm good now. I've moved on. It's like, wait, no, 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 no. You can't move on in a Premier League season. You have to keep playing. You have to keep. That's not how that works. You can't just do that and then kind of move into a situation of, well, we're fine. I agree with you. I think they did get ahead of themselves. They are in the position they're in. I still think they're going to be okay.
I still
Stop.
trust Sean Dyche too. I gotta say,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, have to. Come on. Yeah. Not going to lose the faith now. I do think Dominic Calvert-Lewin has to step up. He has to step up, or they just need to start playing Beto and or Danjuma, anybody else. And shouldn't have dropped Andre Gomez either. That was weird to see.
no, yeah. It's like I forgot he was there, but once he started playing, it was like, okay, he's
Play
playing
him.
well again. Yeah, like play him. But no, they don't. Um, Gary O'Neill continues to deliver. That's really my last point. Just
Gary,
continues to deliver.
Gary O'Neill, certified good manager.
Hmm.
If we haven't said that enough already on this podcast. Um, Wolves are in 11th, 28 points, level on points with Chelsea. Level on points with Chelsea. And they're 3 points clear of his former employer in Bournemouth. He's a very good manager.
Yes, he is.
Everton are in 17th, 16 points, 1 point clear of the relegation zone, as Jay says. Um, it's not going to be all rainbows and unicorns as we thought it was going to be when they got that 10-point deduction and then they just started winning games. It is going to be tough. This is the Premier League. They are who they are. Okay. Other games to get through today. Is that it?
Yeah, just today.
West Ham nil, Brighton nil. Brighton got a clean sheet, everybody. They did it. Woohoo. And I predicted it. Not really, but yeah, they got a clean sheet. Well done.
Yeah, they dominated the chances too. Both keepers played well. Steele had to make a good save. Ariel made a couple, but if anyone looked like they were going to score, it was Brighton. They didn't. They get their first clean sheet of the season, which is wild. It took them over halfway through to get one, but positive sign for them. I think it's a good result for them getting a draw at the London Stadium with West Ham and won three straight, including wins over United and Arsenal. Like this was a great result for Brighton and something they can build on, especially defensively, which is what's been the problem anyway. Um, Also saw they had 19 goals from teenagers in 2023, more than every other team in the league combined.
That is disgusting. We know about Brighton's recruitment, so that stat isn't like the craziest thing ever. It's just that is insane that
Yeah,
they can do it at such a high level. Um, Buonanotte is going to be a player. Pascal Gross probably should have scored that header. Just he decided to go for the flick instead of down into the corner. Is what it is. On another day, that's 1-0, and you probably win the game. Jack Hinchelwood is a player at 18 years of age. That kid just came out of nowhere. Um, and you've got a couple of guys right now. Like it's a struggle for Evan Ferguson to get in the team. I don't know why, but it is a struggle for Evan Ferguson to get in the
yeah.
team.
He should be playing over Welbeck, but João Pedro is without a doubt earned that starting spot.
That's kind of where I was going with. It's like he should be playing over Danny, but João Pedro, I don't know right now. He's been on fire since he came there. So well done to Brighton. Again, I think Jace hinted at this earlier in the podcast. Without Mohamed Kudus, this West Ham attack is not as terrifying as it could be. I'd like to see Max Cornet come in on that right wing role. I don't know. I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for him. I think he could be. He's not going to be Mohamed Kudus, but I think he could add pace and something into that counterattack if you are going to continue playing Bowen at the nine, which I think you're going to have to because it's either him or Danny Ings. So probably Bowen at the nine.
Yeah. Danny Ings will score you some goals and when he's standing right in front of goal. But yeah, Bowen offers a lot more.
I agree. Okay. Anything else? Pretty much a nothing game. There's two chances that could have
Yeah.
gone in, but
I think João Pedro had one where he dribbled like three or four guys, but hit it right at Ariel. I mean, yeah, a 0-0.
yeah, both these teams sitting in sixth and seventh probably could have handshake agreement before the game. Like, draw? You good with the draw? Yeah, I'm good with the draw. Hey, clean sheet. We haven't had one of those this season. So can you do us a favor on that? Yep, we can. All right, perfect. West Ham in sixth, 34 points. Brighton in seventh, 31 points. Brighton are level on points with United. Um, and West Ham are 5 points off fifth place, Tottenham. Okay, weekend review done. Let's go. Good job, Jace. The baby. Move on to winners, losers, and the weekend awards before we get out of here. Jace, your winners from this weekend.
Winner's Cole Palmer,
Yep.
2 goals. I'm pretty sure he assisted the other goal as well. Elise
Hmm.
back and just as good as ever. Um, Wolves, Gary O'Neill, just the club in general, another victory, just climbing the table.
Yep.
Um, and Nuno. I haven't given Nuno a ton of credit. We were both pretty down on the deal on the hiring process, but he's been good. And then my last one, of course, is Fulham. Um,
No explanation needed, Jace. You can
yeah,
just leave it at that. It's okay.
they played really well. Marco Silva, big winner there too.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. I have Mohamed Salah on mine. Incredible performance this weekend. Looked like they've really figured some stuff out at Liverpool this season. Gary O'Neill, I'm with you there, Jace. Elise and Eze, I just put them both together. They're my new Embuemo and Visa, I think, on Dogs of the Weekend now that Embuemo
I
and
like it.
Visa have gone away. It's very sad. Morgan Gibbs White, damn it. I mean, I've hyped the guy up, hyped the guy up, and then he just killed my team. So that is just devastating. And then Raul, who just seems to be fits like a glove into this Fulham system. Okay. All right, Jace, your losers from this weekend.
Brentford for everything.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, the game, the players they're losing, all of it. Um, I have Spurs strictly because they're losing their captain for
Yeah.
what will likely be a month. South Korea are freaking good. I can't see them going out anytime before the semifinals.
Uh-uh.
Um, and that sucks. I would have Arsenal, but they're my poor performance of the week. So, yeah, I'd say I'll add Newcastle on the road in there as well, but we've talked about that a million times.
Yeah. I was gonna say my losers from this weekend, Newcastle on the road is right there for you. Um, this podcast, yeah, we both took
Facts.
some took some tough L's this weekend. Myself, I lost in overtime. Well, Alabama lost in overtime of a college football playoff after I had to watch United lose to Nottingham Forest. So I am just in a bad spot. Scott McTominay. Wait, no. Excuse me. 39.
39.
39. Name rights taken away. And then my final loser, Liverpool, because they're losing Mohamed Salah. So, and I could see Egypt doing something in AFCON because they did something last time. So, all right, Chase, you're Mike Dean.
Arsenal.
Mm,
Problems run deeper than just the personnel, but the personnel and key positions is not there yet either.
yeah.
Again, I think it's fixable, but right now, City and Liverpool look way better.
Yeah, I hate to agree with you, but I have to. My Mike Dean is Anthony Taylor. This guy continually gets away with being the second worst referee because Michael Oliver is that bad that we're in a position where I really I get why you can't overturn that penalty. I don't know how you watch that in live time and think it's not a dive. I don't know. I get why you cannot overturn it on VAR because there is contact there. It's not a clear and obvious error from the referee. But in live time, you should be able to say that looked a little sketchy. Like it was a comedy way of going down. Genuinely
Yeah,
like a
it
comedy
was.
way of going down.
And I do think while we're talking about it, it feels like some refs in some games want to leave all the decisions to VAR. They don't want to call penalties. They don't want to give out red cards because they're like, well, if it's bad enough, VAR will give it. This is the exact opposite. Like
Yeah,
he sees the slight contact, even though the keeper's pulling out of the challenge. He sees the knee slide, and he's like, you know what? If there was zero contact, VAR will just overturn it. But because
exactly.
there's the slightest of foot to elbow contact or foot to shoulder, whatever it was, the VAR is not going to overturn it. And that in lies the problem with the referees. One of the many problems. It's some weeks we're going to let VAR correct our mistakes for us. Some weeks we're going to make mistakes and hope VAR corrects.
Yeah. Or like let VAR referee the game instead of us. We're just
Right.
not going to call anything. And it's like, what is that? All right. You're Gary O'Neill, Jace.
Brighton, clean sheet.
Ooh, good shout. Very good shout. That is a surprise. I mean, it's just haven't had one
Very
all year.
surprising.
My Gary O'Neill, I don't remember if we talked about this. I think we did, but David Moyes got a extension onto his contract. Me and Jace both thought he was gone at the end of last
I
year.
wanted him sacked even after the conference league.
Yeah, you did. Jace had a vendetta because he had him as manager of the year before West Ham just had one of their worst seasons under David Moyes. This season has been so much better, and you never expected it to be this good, especially with what you did in the summer by selling Declan Rice. I agree with him getting extended. I hate the West Ham fans that are replying, "Oh, we've hit our ceiling and we've just admitted we're going to be this team for forever." It's like, what are you talking about?
Winning the conference league is your ceiling, yes. Like, why is that a problem?
And like it doesn't mean you can't break the ceiling.
Right. Like I said it last week, especially if Liverpool falter and don't take the Europa League as seriously as they could, it would not shock me if West Ham won it.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. That's all I've got. That's all we've got. Jace, anything else?
That's it.
All right. I've been Dylan.
I've been Jace. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. We will see you guys on Friday for an FA Cup preview and Elijah Quivy back on the podcast. All right. Peace.